Hi guys, today we are taking you on a Sushi 101 crash course. From a brief history, some sushi terms, how to eat, the top 10 sushi neta or sushi toppings, coming up right after the intro. Hi guys, thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of the Dope Sensei, where we take a look at anything and everything related to Japan for your entertainment and information. I am Tate. Tats and Kenya will be joining us a little bit later in the video to show us how to eat sushi and the top 10 sushi netas. As mentioned in the intro, the agenda for today is this. You can jump to each topic that you want to see by going to the comments section below and clicking on the timestamps next to each topic. And while you're at it, why don't you give us a like, a subscribe, and maybe a comment. Alright, let's start off with the history of sushi. So the origin of sushi dates back to 400 BC in the hilly regions of Southeast Asia, where they used fermented rice to preserve fishes, as they lived in areas where fish was hard to obtain. Flash forward around 1,000 years, that technique of preservation had gotten to China, and most of China was like, I don't really like this food, so Japan, you can go ahead and have it. And so it came to Japan from China along with rice farming techniques in the Nara period, which is between 710 to 794. They preserved the fish by salting it and putting it in a wooden barrel with cooked rice, and it was fermented for a few weeks to about a month, and this is called narezushi. It's still eaten to this day in Shiga and Wakayama prefecture. It can be fermented for 30 years plus and still be eaten safely, but at this point it's basically sushi yogurt. Flash forward another 1,000 years to the late Edo period from 1600s to 1800s. Yatai, meaning food stand, became very popular. At this point in time, sushi was a luxury due to the time it takes to ferment the sushi. Then comes a man named Hanaya Yohei, who was working in a high-end sushi restaurant and was like, I want everybody to eat sushi, but how can I do it? And then he bumped into a man by the name of Nakano Matazaemon, which is the founder of Mitsukan, which is a company that still exists today. It's famous for its vinegar production. And he was like, hey man, I'm looking for a way to create the taste of fermentation in sushi without the fermentation process. And Mr. Nakano was like, yeah, why don't you just use our vinegar, man? And that was the birth of the modern nigiri sushi. Mr. Hanaya Yohei also came up with the idea of using wasabi, which was added as an antibacterial. Initially, these nigiri sushis were made in Edomae, now known as the Tokyo Bay, because they used the fish they got straight out of the bay. That's why you might hear sushi being called Edomae sushi. Then in 1923, the Kanto earthquake happened, and people that came from the countryside to Edo and became sushi chefs went back to their home prefecture, which spread sushi all across Japan. Until around the Meiji period, which is between 1868 to 1912, sushi yatai or sushi stands were the norm, but serving raw foods outside in food stands was banned after World War II due to hygiene issues, and they brought sushi stands indoors. That's why when you go to a traditional sushi restaurant, they serve sushi in counters that resembles a ramen stand or an oden stand. Alright, going back to the Meiji period, the end of the national isolation, Japanese people started going to the US and other places and opened Japanese restaurants with some types of sushi such as inari sushi, maki sushi, oshi sushi, etc., making it over. But it wasn't until 1962 to 1965 that nigiri sushi spread overseas when the president of Tokyo Mutual Trading, Noritoshi Kanei, sent over glass neta or sushi topping cases to California and was used in 3 restaurants in order to serve nigiri sushi. In the 3 restaurants that it was sent to, also included Tokyo Kaikan in Little Tokyo, which is the inventor of the California roll, so thank them for that. And in the late 1970s, sushi started to gain traction in California, all over the US, but one thing that they didn't like is the fact that makizushi, the nori on the outside, looked like paper, so the chefs countered that by using the uramaki method. So if you like that sushi, thank those guys for that as well. Alright, that is it for the history. Let's move on to the sushi common phrases. So let's talk about the word itself, sushi. Sushi is represented in this kanji most commonly, the left kanji meaning kotobuki, meaning longevity or good wishes, and the right side meaning to bring or to have. And this kanji was initially used in Kyoto for when presenting it to the imperial court, while other regions used different versions of the kanji. There are many theories on the etymology of the word sushi. One theory is that the word sushi came from sumeshi, meaning vinegar rice, what's under the topping of the sushi, and the mi part of sumeshi was removed and became sushi, is one of the theories. Let's go to the next one, is neta. Neta is the topping of the sushi, and it is an inversion of the word tane, meaning seed, which is meant to mean the seed of the food for survival for the chefs themselves, because the quality of the sushi topping determines the survival or the quality of life of the sushi chefs. This word is also used for jokes for a comedian and the stories that journalists write in Japanese. Next word is shari. This is the vinegared rice that's under the sushi topping or the neta, and it initially came from a Sanskrit word that means somebody's remains or bones or ashes, and it was named that because apparently somebody thought the rice looked like ashes. I don't know, a little bit weird. All right, next word is ikkan. Ichi means one, kan is the focus word here, and this is how you count sushi. Sushi used to be around 2.5 times bigger in the Edo days, so they would cut it in half so it would be easier to eat for the customer. And they called that 2 pieces that was initially 1 ikkan. And depending on the sushi restaurant, now 2 sushi like that is called ikkan, or depending on the restaurant, it could also be just one of them. It really depends on the restaurant. All right, next word is gari. This is ginger pickled in sweet vinegar, which is usually on the side of the sushi plate, which is called a getan, or if it's a chain restaurant, it's sometimes in containers with a little tweezer, and it's called this because of the sound it makes when you chew on it.
Project.
This also was added as an antibacterial, and there are other uses for this as well, which Kenya will touch upon later. All right, the next word is sabi. This is just an abbreviation of wasabi, and this was also added as an antibacterial agent. When you go to a high-end sushi restaurant, you don't want to put the wasabi into the soy sauce like some people do. That's considered rude. What you want to do is get a little bit of the wasabi with your chopsticks and put it directly onto the sushi. The word namida, which means tears, is also used for wasabi, but this is in the category of words that sushi chefs use as euphemisms and are not words that customers should really be using. Other examples of this is murasaki, which literally means purple. Normal way of saying it in Japanese is shoyu. This literally means soy sauce. Agari, which literally means to finish. The normal way of saying this is ocha, meaning tea. Another example is oaiso, which literally means friendliness. The normal way of saying this is okanjo or okaike, which literally means the check. The last one is used as a euphemism, which is meant to mean, I'm sorry, I'm not being friendly to you, but please pay up, type thing. If you use these sushi master words too much, they might not be happy because it almost seems like you're trying to go up to the level of the sushi master, which of course is not going to be the case. So just be careful with these terms, but it's probably good to understand them. The last one is oshibori. This isn't really specific to sushi. You can get them even in convenience stores for free, like this one right here. It literally comes from the word shiboru, meaning to squeeze or to wring out water, and it is basically the wet towel that usually comes rolled up really tight, and you're supposed to use it before you eat to wipe your hands. You can wipe your face. It's not 100% off limits, but you shouldn't be doing to the point where you're scraping off the dead skin off of your face. You also shouldn't really wipe things off that you've spilled either on the table. You want to ask the staff or somebody to bring a fukin, which is sort of a wipe to clean up the table and stuff like that. All right, all this talking has made me hungry. Hopefully I'm not boring you guys too much. So next up is how to eat sushi and the top 10 sushi neta. All right, off to a different dimension.
I'm Tots. Kenya!
And today we have sushi here.
Let's eat! I'm really hungry.
I'm hungry too. But we need to follow the rules of Japanese sushi eating, so we'll go through that today.
Because there's a proper etiquette, right?
That's right. So there's a ranking of the favorite sushi that Japanese people eat. We're gonna be going from 10th place all the way to the first place.
All right, so let's start off by opening our chopsticks. So you're gonna take your wrapper and fold it in half once, and fold it in half once more. Take it the long way, and then fold it in half again.
Now, like Tate explained, we're gonna go through the rankings from number 10 to number 1 of what Japanese people like to eat, but usually there's actually a proper order to eat sushi. And that's going from the lighter flavors first to the heavier, fattier flavors.
All right, so we're gonna pour in the sushi first. Usually it would be
soy sauce.
Pour in the soy sauce. Pour in the soy sauce first. Usually it would be in a bottle like that. Not that big, but a little bit smaller. And what you wanna be careful of is you don't wanna put in too much. You wanna just put in just a little bit, just enough. A dab. Oops, sorry. I'm already feeling. This is even a little bit too much right now. Usually like half of this should be enough. Okay. Yeah, and make sure not to spill.
So dirty.
Itadakimasu! Actually, before we start eating, let's get into some small etiquette rules before going to a sushi restaurant or eating in general. Number 1, don't wear any strong scented cologne or perfume as it can disturb other people's eating experience. Smell is a big factor when it comes to tasting food, especially for food like sushi, which doesn't have a strong taste. Number 2, don't wear too much bling bling on your hands like rings, especially if you're going to be eating with your hands. And number 3, before you eat, wipe your hands with the oshibori, which we talked about earlier in the terms section of the video. Alright, we're ready to dig in.
Itadakimasu.
Number 10 is hotate,
Hotate.
which is scallop.
Hotate. Hotate.
Yeah, it's not funny. Okay, so I do it the wrong way, right?
Oi! Mada da ne.
I'm just gonna eat this, okay?
Yeah, you should eat it, yeah. But that's not actually the best way to eat it.
What's the correct way?
Let me show you guys. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if you use your hands or chopsticks. But I actually like to use my hands, right? Because the chef, you know, he used his hands to delicately create the combination of the rice and the... Okay. Anyway, so first of all, you're supposed to tilt it on one side and then grab it. And then you put the fish part on the soy sauce and lightly just dab it. And then you put it directly, the fish directly onto your mouth.
What does it taste like?
A bit of heaven.
Tastes very creamy, eh?
No, it's
Creamy scallop. Fish roll there. Scallops are best in winter to spring season in their 3rd or 4th year. It contains vitamin B12, folic acid, taurine, and zinc.
Mwah.
You get a minus point though, because you didn't put the neta directly on your tongue. That's what you're supposed to do,
Yeah,
right?
that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, so. Number 9 is ikura or fish roe.
Wait a sec!
Pops in my mouth.
Yeah, but you didn't eat it the right way. You never actually put the soy sauce directly onto the rice. The chef usually lovingly molds the sushi in his hands, right? And by putting the soy sauce directly onto the rice,
Like crumble.
it'll crumble. And that's not good, no one wants that. To these battleship sushis,
These are called gunkan maki.
you can't really tip it over. Fish roe, it's usually seasoned with a bit of soy sauce anyway, but if you have a high salt blood content, then you might want to add a bit more.
Wait, if you have a high salt content?
You might want to add a bit more. So in these cases, what you do is you get a bit of ginger, you dip it, and then you use that as a tool to put the soy sauce on the fish part. And then you eat it directly.
How is it?
It's good.
It's good.
And now I'm going to use the ginger to cleanse my palate, ready for the next one. Crunchy.
My favorite.
Okay, so those are sort of the basic rules of eating sushi. So we're just now gonna eat and go through the ranking. And number 8 is engawa. Okay, so I tilt it. Just like a small dab. The name of this fish, engawa, literally means the outer wood veranda of a traditional Japanese house. It was named this due to the visual similarity. A lot of umami in here. It's a little bit kori-kori.
And it has shiso.
Next is negitoro.
I want a bit of soy sauce for this one though.
Right. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that, like how you're supposed to do it. So apparently the negi and negitoro actually doesn't mean the green onions here. It means like to negitoru.
Really?
To like take out. This is the meat between the bones apparently, and they like scrape it out. Or number 6 is ika.
Yeah. I'm actually really hungry. I didn't have breakfast.
Cool. What am I supposed to say?
Oh. Squid has a tougher texture, doesn't it?
Definitely. Next, we're going on to the ebi. Alright, so we have 2 types of ebi here. This is the traditional ebi, and this is ama ebi. And these are cooked, these are raw.
I'm going to start with the cooked one.
Start with the uncooked one.
If you don't eat the tail, you can put it back onto the geta. Just don't put it into the shared platter or the counter. For the raw ones, I wouldn't eat the tail, but for the cooked ones, I actually do. Easier to just put it on.
Oh, you're learning well.
Cheaper restaurants usually use Mexican
I'll
shrimp,
roll it
while
now.
higher quality ones
Oh,
use
good
botan
one.
Let's
ebi
go
or
for this.
kurama ebi.
This bad boy. Very nice.
I like to cook one better.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, the texture and consistency.
Chutoro is a mid-fat.
Sorry, charmeleon of tuna. I'm surprised this is this low in the rankings though. It's actually one of my favorites.
Yeah, I wonder why. Chutoro is located either on the belly or the back of the tuna. The less fattier akami is located near the bones in the middle.
It's pretty fatty. I like it.
Yeah, the umami.
Uma what?
Hmm?
Uma what?
Umami.
Uma what? Uma what?
Umami.
Yeah. Good.
Wait, I don't understand that.
Nothing. Ginger time! Alright.
Project. Alright, next we're going on to the hamachi. Alright, this is hamachi.
Go ahead.
Amberjack in Japanese changes names depending on how mature they are.
How's it?
Hamachi is a mid-mature farmed version of young amberjack, while buri is the fully matured version.
It's very light. It tastes more oceany than high salt content.
Have the saltiness goes very well with like the sweetness of the rice.
Ginger time!
It's a lot of ginger.
Ginger time.
Itadakimasu.
I'm surprised this is higher. I would have expected the fattier version.
I think this I could eat more in terms of the quantity
Yeah.
because the chutoro is like a little bit fatty, right? So first place is, drumroll, salmon! We have the aburi version, and then we have the raw version, and then on top is nigi and ginger. You go
I'm
first.
gonna use my chopsticks as this is really fatty. I think cooking it actually brings out another layer of flavor from the salmon.
Well, this is really good.
Yeah.
For the ones with toppings on the top, you want to use the gari technique,
The ginger.
ginger soy sauce technique. The idea of salmon sushi actually isn't from Japan. It was an effort from the Norwegian government to increase salmon exports to Japan. Thank you, Norway.
I can see why it's popular. What's number one? It's good. It's a bit sweet though. Soft texture.
Almost like a unagi.
Unagi is an eel that's born in the ocean and then goes upstream to rivers later on. That's why people eat it as a symbol of better business performance. Lastly, we have
Tamago. Tamago.
Mango.
a little bit sweet.
It's kind of, yeah, sweet.
ごちそうさまでした.
Alright, thank you very much for tuning in to this episode of the Dumb Sensei. If you like the content, please give it a like. Please subscribe to us for more content like this, and let us know in the comments below what sort of information you want to know about Japan. Alright, and that is it. See you guys next time.